Anyone who plays football knows the name Maradona, a player who defied all odds to become the best player in the world. But at what cost?
Brilliant run by Maradona!
There were always two sides to Maradona's story, one that happened on the field and one that happened off it. And sometimes these two sides came into conflict with each other. So, let's get the facts straight and discuss how Diego became the most controversial player in football history. Diego Armando Maradona was born in a poor neighborhood in southern Buenos Aires, specifically in Villa Fiorito. His parents loved football as it was one of the few things they could do, and Diego received a football from his uncle for his 3rd birthday. He had to work on his skills and teach him how to control a football when he was very young. His parents encouraged him to focus on sports and gave him the space he needed to grow. Diego played for Argentina's juniors youth team, Los Cibolitas, in 1969. The coach allowed him to go where he pleased and try new things. As a number 10, he was a natural star and leader for the team. For the first time, Diego got some attention in 1972 when he demonstrated his showboating skills during the break in Argentina's top league. After that, he was interviewed for the first time ever, and they asked him about his hopes and dreams. Because of how well Diego played for the junior team in 1974, El Gráfico magazine sent a reporter to follow him, which was unusual for a player that age. Diego made his debut with Argentinos juniors on October 20th, 1976, 10 days before his 16th birthday. He was the youngest player in the history of the Argentine top flight. Diego learned early on how to play against bigger players and how to stay out of tackles and kicks. Diego made his debut for the national team when he was 16 years old, against Hungary in February 1977. At that time, Maradona said, "Everything happened too fast." Around the start of 1977, Diego asked his good friend Jorge Sataspila to be his agent, and in May of that year, he helped Diego sign his first professional deal. Clubs from South America and even Europe were interested in Maradona when he was 18 years old. In the 1978 season, he kept getting better, and with 21 goals, he finished the Metropolitano season as the top scorer for the first time in his career. In 1979, Maradona scored his first goal for Argentina in a game against Scotland at Hampden Park. In 1981, at the age of 20, Maradona finally decided to join Boca Juniors after 12 years with Argentinos. Rival team River Plate had made a better offer for Maradona, but Diego knew what he wanted. In exchange for $4 million, Maradona moved on loan to Boca Juniors for 16 months. But an opportunity for Maradona to fulfill his dream was right around the corner. Not long after he went on loan to Boca Juniors, the US dollar had soared above the Argentinian peso. Boca Juniors' finances were affected, and they were not able to secure Maradona permanently. Moving forward, Maradona joined the Argentine national team in 1982 to get ready for the World Cup in Spain, which was the most important tournament of the year. Before the World Cup, Cesar Menotti, the manager of the national team, set up a lot of friendlies to help his new team, made up of former World Cup winners and talented kids from the Tokyo Youth World Championship. However, at the time, Argentina was engaged in a war with Britain over the Falkland Islands. The government presented the war as a victory to the Argentine people, but in reality, it was far more sinister. The war was brutal, and when the players landed and learned the truth, they were shocked and struggled to perform well, ultimately losing to Brazil and out of the tournament. But while all this was happening, a big name in football had their eyes locked on the young Argentinian, and it was none other than Barcelona president Jose Núñez, who saw Maradona as a strategic and important signing and had already reached an initial transfer agreement with him in 1979. Barcelona had just massively expanded the capacity of the Camp Nou, and signing Maradona would have filled the whole stadium. And needless to say, Maradona came to Barca in a record-breaking deal in 1982. Maradona quickly gained the trust of his teammates, which helped him blend in and deliver good performances at the beginning of the season, despite him missing some matches because of injury. But there were some problems. Barcelona teammate Carrasco advised Diego and warned him about going out at night in Barcelona. While Maradona found this advice very difficult to follow, this wasn't the only problem. The team's tactics and style of play, which focused on long balls, didn't suit Diego, so the manager Menotti changed that style at the beginning of the new season. The Argentinian manager focused on a more technical style of play, with quick passes on the ground, and a lot of touches by Diego. Menotti gave both Maradona and Schuster free roles up front in attacking spaces. But before the team had the chance to make use of these new tactics, Maradona suffered another major setback. The injury came at the beginning of the season after the manager Menotti criticized the defensive and destructive type of football utilized by some La Liga managers. Barcelona suffered without their superstar, as the Catalan club was behind Real Madrid and Bilbao in the La Liga standings. After a few weeks, Diego faced Bilbao. Despite the numerous tackles between the two sides, Maradona managed to score a brace to give his side an important victory away from home. But despite these great performances, Maradona never received praise or appreciation from the Catalan media. Barca was Barca. No amount of individual brilliance would make up for the club's failure to win silverware. The Catalan club ended the season in third position behind Madrid and the champions, Bilbao, again. Maradona's relationship with Barca, the fans, and the media would take yet another bad turn in their Winners' Cup quarter-final encounter against Manchester United. Diego was still suffering from back pains and was given several painkillers just to go out and play. However, he played poorly in the first leg at Camp Nou, a match that Barcelona ended up winning. Maradona was subbed off before the end and heard boos echoing down on him from the Camp Nou stands. All the criticism from the media, the injuries, and the partying painted an ugly picture of Maradona in the eyes of the Catalans and confirmed that he was not worth the money. Maradona responded to the boos and said, "The Catalans are very special. It's like I'm stealing their own money." Diego decided in that moment to leave Barcelona. Barcelona lost the second leg by 3-0 and were out of another competition. There was only one competition left to salvage the season, the Copa del Rey final against Athletic Bilbao. Clemente's team was very confident, especially after winning the Spanish league for the second time in a row, and decided to stoke the fires with their quotes before the match. As Clemente labeled Diego an idiot, every single thing that happened to Maradona during the last 2 seasons at Barcelona would spark into an all-out brawl at the Santiago Bernabeu. After Bilbao sealed the final with a solitary goal, the Basque players celebrated around the stadium, and one of them went close to Maradona and sarcastically waved him goodbye. This was the last spark that fueled the infamous brawl. Menotti commented after the match and said, "I have never seen anything like that. If what we saw today was just an ordinary match, then football is dead." Maradona was suspended for 7 matches, sealing the end of his story at Barcelona. Diego would later remember his stay at Barcelona as the unhappiest period of his career. Within 2 seasons, Diego scored 38 goals in 58 matches and won 3 cups, but never got the chance to play a season without injury or controversy. In the following seasons, the relationship of Maradona with Barcelona worsened, and he knew he had to leave. But it was Maradona, and every club wanted him to play for them. Napoli, an underdog club in Serie A, saw an opportunity to bring in a world-class player who could transform their fortunes. The club was struggling financially but managed to secure funding through creative financial deals and getting help from influential figures in the region. At 25 years of age, and with his great performances in the last few years, Maradona was yet to reach worldwide fandom and yet to deliver true dominance on the European and global stage. Thus, he set his sights on the upcoming tournament with the Argentine national team, the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. In December of 1983, and after 7 years of military dictatorship, Argentina democratically elected their first president. The country was being rebuilt in the following years, and the nation was happier than ever. In football terms, the Argentine Federation hired Carlos Bilardo within that period, a young manager who succeeded in introducing attractive football to the Argentine league. Bilardo soon began his tactical discussions with Maradona, since he was at Barcelona, and handed him the captaincy from veteran defender Daniel Passarella. It was a difficult and controversial decision, but Bilardo saw the young Diego as the perfect leader. In Mexico, Maradona appeared to be at the peak of his physical and mental powers, despite his step into addiction. The poor infrastructure of the World Cup, which the rest of the teams complained about, turned out to be an advantage for the Argentinians, who all lived and slept under the same roof during the competition. This helped strengthen the harmony of the squad. However, tournament conditions were poor overall. Pollution levels and temperatures were very high, and the stadium pitches were all dry as well. Maradona was one of the first players to criticize FIFA, but FIFA president João Havelange told him to play instead of criticizing the system. Maradona responded, "I was asking that they consult the players, the real owners of the show, because without us they are nothing." Argentina managed to convert this newfound harmony into positive results in the group stages after winning against South Korea and Bulgaria and drawing against Italy. Maradona scored a goal and assisted a further 4 during this group stage. They went on to face Uruguay in the second round. And without scoring a goal, Maradona was influential as the Argentinians settled for a single goal to qualify, 1-0. Argentina then set up a quarter-final match against England. It was hard to separate politics from football on the day of the quarter-final match, especially after the Falklands War between the two countries. But Maradona told his teammates to focus. Bobby Robson and his England side succeeded in playing a slower tempo to end the first half with a goalless draw. But everything changed in the second half when Maradona scored 2 vastly different goals that would forever be remembered in the history of football. The first goal was a moment of infamy. After receiving a deflected ball in the box, Maradona raised his left hand and punched the ball past England goalkeeper Peter Shilton into the net. Despite protests from the English players, the referee allowed the goal to stand. After the match, Maradona cheekily described the goal as a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. This phrase would forever be associated with the event. Minutes later, Maradona scored one of the most iconic goals in football history. Starting from his own half, he dribbled past 5 English players, weaving through their defences with incredible speed, precision and control, before slotting the ball past Shilton. The goal was later voted as the goal of the century. When analysing these 2 goals, they almost seem like polar opposites, yet they belong to the same man. They represent Maradona's vastly different characters. The cheat and the genius, the realist and the dreamer. England managed to fight back and score a goal through Gary Lineker and came close to equalizing, but the match ended with Argentina winning under controversial circumstances. After the match, Maradona told his teammates about the handball, saying, "I stole a thief's wallet." In the press conference, he insisted that he had scored with his head. English manager Bobby Robson, visibly angry, said,
"All I can go on is what I felt I saw. Maradona handled the ball into the goal, didn't he?
Argentina advanced to the World Cup final for the third time in their history after beating England and Belgium. In the final, they faced West Germany, runners-up in the previous World Cup. German star Lothar Matthäus was tasked with closely marking Maradona throughout the match, which worked effectively in the first half as Diego struggled to influence the game. Despite this, Argentina scored the opener and added a second goal in the second half. However, true to form, the Germans never gave up and scored twice in quick succession to equalize, leaving the match on a knife's edge. With minutes remaining, Maradona finally broke free from his marker and delivered a perfectly timed through ball to Jorge Barugaga, who scored the winning goal. Argentina were world champions for the second time, and Maradona was the main factor behind their triumph. He delivered one of the most complete individual performances ever seen in a World Cup. He had a hand in 10 out of Argentina's 14 goals in the tournament, scoring 5 and assisting another 5. This triumph solidified Maradona's legendary status. As teammate Jorge Valdano put it, it made him an immediate hero. At that moment, it was finally sealed. He had become the myth we read about today, the legend, Diego Armando Maradona. Maradona returned to Buenos Aires as a hero and was greeted with unparalleled celebrations. In Napoli, he rose to the peak of his fame, but his focus remained on his next goal, delivering Napoli's elusive first Serie A title. The team was bolstered by new signings such as Andrea Carnevale and the return of young defender Ciro Ferrara. Napoli now had a real fighting chance. However, bad things happened soon after Napoli beat Brescia in their first game of the season. There was news that an Italian woman said she had given birth to Maradona's child. She said the baby was Diego's and wanted Diego to admit it. The claim was denied by Maradona, and she refused to obey. This caused her story to be shown on Italian TV. Diego was upset about this issue, and it showed in his game against Udinese the next day. This is around the same time that Diego Armando Jr. was legally registered as a child. Even with these problems off the field, Napoli started to get stronger. Maradona's friendship with his teammates grew stronger after Giuseppe Bruscolotti, the club captain, gave Diego the captain's shirt as a sign of support. Diego was moved and told the person, "You gave me something I'll never forget. I will bring the title as a captain." Diego wanted to get everyone in the city behind the team, so he let Napoli fans watch training practices. Diego scored an amazing free kick as Napoli beat Juventus in a big win in November, showing that he was getting better. Napoli won 9 of their next 15 games, which put them at the top of the league standings. Napoli played Fiorentina at home near the end of the season. A tie would have been enough for them to win the Scudetto. The crowd went crazy when Napoli scored the first goal. The game ended in a 1-1 tie. When the referee blew the final whistle, Naples had the biggest party it had ever seen. Napoli had won their first Serie A title, just like Maradona had said they would. But this was not enough for Maradona. He wanted more, and the perfect opportunity was waiting for him, the 1990 World Cup. While Argentina had managed to make it to the finals, Maradona was angry and frustrated even before the match had begun, as the Italians in the stands booed the Argentine national anthem. Maradona was absolutely convinced they were about to be robbed. After a goalless first half, in the 65th minute, Maradona was sent off after a reckless challenge. It was the first sending off in a World Cup final ever. Rudi Völler won a penalty. Both Andreas Brehme and Lothar Matthäus admitted recently that the referee was wrong and the penalty was too soft to be given. But Brehme converted the penalty successfully, as the Germans won after full time. This was a big turning point in Maradona's life. It seemed like he did not care about the sport anymore. He went back to Napoli with a bad attitude and started missing a lot of games. After Maradona almost missed a key European Cup match, Napoli were at the edge of what they could handle. In the second round, the Italian team played against the Russian winners, Spartak Moscow. In the first round, they beat them by 5 goals. Because he was so drunk from partying all night, Maradona missed the trip with the team and was sleeping instead. Maradona finally woke up and took a private jet to Moscow, but he arrived late for the last few preparations for the game. The club gave Gianfranco Zola, a young Italian player with a lot of potential, Maradona's spot and the famous number 10 shirt. Maradona finally came on in the second half, wearing the number 16 shirt, but there was still no goal, so the match went to penalties. Even though Maradona scored his penalty, they lost the shootout. Napoli lost a lot of money because they had to leave the tournament early. President Corrado Ferlano and sporting director Luciano Moggi decided that Maradona's bad behavior could no longer be allowed. They made the choice not to protect him anymore. They stopped keeping his worst-kept secret, drugs. After witnesses came forward in February 1991, Maradona was charged with using and selling cocaine. Maradona thought that someone was out to get him, whether it was from FIFA, the Serie A, Napoli, or the Camorra. Maradona turned into a monster in the eyes of the Italian people, and the story changed completely. Diego continued training with Napoli despite his and the club's decision to part ways, but there was one incident that ended things for good. Diego Maradona was now in hiding after being hit with a 15-month worldwide ban. After this, Maradona left the country. Maradona left a lasting mark on Napoli, even though he had flaws. He left the club having scored 115 goals in 257 games, making him the all-time top scorer. He also scored 30 goals from free kicks and set up 71 others. Without Maradona, Napoli got worse. The next season, they finished 8th in the league, and they never again came close to winning the title. Over the next few decades, the club was sent back to Serie B twice and finally went bankrupt. When Maradona thought about his impact, he wrote, "They made me pay because I kept Italy from going to the World Cup final." Maradona wouldn't go back to Italy after his ban was over. Sevilla, which was coached by Carlos Bilardo, who also used to lead the Argentina national team, was seen as a fresh start for Diego. They hoped that the famous player could help him get back on track, but the spark that made him great was going out. His body was worn down from years of using drugs, drinking too much, and living an unhealthy life. He was 32 years old. He kept getting hurt, and things between him and Sevilla started to go badly. Diego Maradona quit football in Europe for good after leaving Sevilla. He looked like he was almost done with his job because he was 32 years old and clearly out of shape. Not many people thought he could get back to the sport that used to be his kingdom. However, the Argentine national team was in trouble, which is what brought Diego back. Argentina did well without Maradona while he was gone, with new players helping them win the Copa America in 1991 and 1993. But the team had a hard time in the 1994 World Cup qualifications. Maradona was in the stands at Buenos Aires' Estadio Monumental in September 1993 as Colombia beat Argentina 5-0 at home. He was shocked and horrified. The loss shocked everyone in the country. As Maradona's name was chanted in the stands, fans begged their fallen hero to come back to the national team. After only 1 week, Maradona agreed to join Newell's Old Boys in Argentina. He then played football in his own country again, and soon after, he was called up to the national team for a vital World Cup playoff game against Australia. FIFA and major sponsors really wanted Maradona to play in the 1994 World Cup because they knew that he would bring attention to the event around the world, especially in the US, where football was still becoming more famous. That being said, Maradona's health wasn't great. He had a hard time getting back to normal after games, so he only played 5 official games for Newell's Old Boys before his contract was cancelled in January 1994. Diego shut himself away because he was determined to play in the World Cup. He asked Fernando Signorini, his trusted personal trainer, and Daniel Serini, a bodybuilding teacher, to help him get fit again. They moved to a quiet area of La Pampa, away from the press, the parties, and any temptations. Before the World Cup started, Maradona had lost a lot of weight and looked like he was full of energy again. In Argentina's first game, against Greece, he played like a legend and scored an amazing goal that showed how good he still is. He screamed like a wild animal into the camera as he celebrated, as if to let everyone know that Diego Maradona was back. In their second game against Nigeria, Maradona was again very important, helping Argentina come back from being down early on to win 2-1. But Diego was picked at random for a drug test after the game. He was ready to help and was walking hand in hand with a FIFA assistant. He had no idea that a storm was about to hit him. Ephedrine was found in the test, which is a chemical that is often found in over-the-counter weight loss products in the US. Maradona claimed that he didn't know the substance was in his food, which Serini had carefully put together. Even though there were heated arguments and appeals, FIFA took Maradona out of the game and suspended him until the case was over. The move shocked everyone in the world of football. Argentina lost their star player, which made them feel down, and Romania beat them in the round of 16. Maradona's international career came to an end when FIFA banned him for 15 months in August 1994. There are still questions about FIFA's intentions. Some say the organization planned the scandal to hurt Maradona's reputation or as a punishment for publicly criticizing football's governing bodies. Maradona played 91 times for Argentina and scored 34 goals during his career. As short as it was, Diego Armando Maradona's 1994 World Cup run was the last time the world saw him play professionally. Maradona returned to Argentine football after his ban was over and joined Boca Juniors again in 1995. Diego wasn't the same person he used to be at 36 years old, but he still had times of brilliance. His appearances were restricted by injuries and a lack of fitness, but just being their electrified fans. During his third time with Boca in 1997, Maradona failed yet another drug test because he had taken cocaine. He decided to retire on his 37th birthday because he was going to be banned for life. Maradona's career was over after 692 games, 352 goals, and 11 recognized titles. Diego Maradona did amazing things, but his problems with drugs, scandals, and being inconsistent made people wonder, what could Maradona have achieved if he didn't get into drugs?